Hello everyone and welcome to Operation Persian Freedom for the A-10C II in DCS World, and it feels really good to be back in the A-10C after a very long hiatus from me, but I do love this plane. It is really fun to play, and I have heard great things about this campaign, and after recently finishing another of Ground Pounder's campaigns, really excited to see what this one has in store. So this first little mission here is a really quite straightforward one. It's really just a training op, nothing too interesting, just making sure that the player knows how to navigate, how to enter waypoints, how to release basic weapons, things like that. And so it's not overly interesting. I am just going to be putting in the weapon training part in the background here, but I thought this would be a good opportunity to go over the setting of the campaign so everyone is all up to speed and ready for the first real mission, which will be next week. So this campaign is set in alternate history version of October 2011. Now, Ground Pounder have done a really good job at putting together a little cinematic that explains everything that's going on. A link to that will be in the description. But for all of you who don't really want to watch that video, then I will just give you a brief overview here. So, history follows the real timeline for the most part, up until the start of the Arab Spring, which continues as it did in our timeline. But where things get different here is that the Arab Spring spreads to Iran. People take to the streets in Iran demanding democracy. The Iranian government cracked down by opening fire on the crowd. This only led to more internal dissatisfaction and large calls for reform, both internally and internationally. The Iranian government decided to respond to that by dropping chemical weapons on one of their own cities, a reformist stronghold, killing thousands. And that was the one straw too far. And so the international community has condemned Iran. And where we set off is the start of a coalition building up to take down the Iranian government, made up of both NATO forces as well as local allies, such as the United Arab Emirates, who will be flying out of quite often. And the idea is that we are flying in A-10s to support the attack on the ground there. As for the player character, we are playing Lieutenant David Steep Hill, who is a RAF pilot who has been transferred to the USAF on an exchange program. He was a Harrier pilot, he's recently got his A-10 certification, and so we're taking his shoes. He's a combat veteran, but new to the A-10, and the entire unit is there to really just support the ground operations. First part of the operation will be to take out the Iranian air defense capability and secure the skies. We'll then be pushing on to do an actual land invasion after securing the islands in the Gulf. Very impressed with what I've seen so far in this campaign. It all seems really interesting, and certainly the challenge seems to be on the same level as First in Weasels, in that you can complete the mission really easily if you just do what you're told, but it's quite hard to get 100% on the mission. As I said, this early one, there wasn't really much challenge to it. It's just dropping bombs on training targets. The only real challenge was making sure you were coming in and out on the correct radial. I just set my course heading to that to give me a little notification. And other than that, it's just dropping bombs on stationary targets. Not too interesting. But next week I've already recorded the episode, and certainly it gets very fun very quickly, so I hope that I'll catch you there. Until then, remember to be kind to yourselves and everyone else. Cheers.